This is Granada, the very city where once the light of faith touched the skies, where the walls of mosques were engraved with the symbols of knowledge and the palaces echoed with songs of justice. But today, that same Granada stands silent. The silence that descends after the noise of victory always carries the whispers of an approaching downfall. He, who once brought justice to the earth with his sword, now stands empty-handed, broken by the very sword he once wielded. The silence that follows triumph always foretells the coming of decline. Time is a teacher that never teaches for free. The history of nations speaks not only of their rise, but more deeply of their fall. And when decline comes, it does not arrive in a single day. It walks in slowly like fog descending upon the night. It was that time when faith was replaced by fear, and in the royal courts the echoes of knowledge faded, replaced by the melodies of music and indulgence. There was a time when we fought not with swords but with faith. Our ranks were filled with justice, modesty, and unity. But then, strength turned into arrogance, and faith became mere tradition. These are the same people whose forefathers conquered the world through faith, but today they treat victory as a spectacle. A courtier laughs, "Shake!" The world has changed. It's not swords that win anymore. Politics does. The scholar replies softly, "When faith leaves the sword, even politics loses its power." Son, when nations are consumed by pride, it's not their swords that break. It's their prayers. You may have won, but you've lost the hearts. Now listen closely. The echoes of decline are approaching. The echo of decline had begun to fill the air. The enemy had reached the gates, yet inside the palace the music still played. A few soldiers whisper about preparing for battle, but an order arrives. The king commands there will be no fighting until tomorrow. A soldier murmurs under his breath. Then when will we fight? When Granada is already burning? Abu Bakr bin Muhammad approaches his father and an aged warrior. Son, Father, the court orders us to stay silent, to preach peace. But my heart tells me, this is not peace. It is the beginning of slavery. Father, my son, when a nation loses its honor, the enemy no longer needs to raise a sword. Decline does not always come from outside. Sometimes it is born within. Dreams never lie. They show the moments that nations choose to ignore. It wasn't a dream. It was the echo of decline. Soldier, in a trembling, broken voice. I wasn't defeated by my enemies. I was defeated by my own pride. Those whom I protected are the ones who turned their backs on me. Is decline only another name for death? Or for the awakening of the conscience? It was the moment when the victors lost themselves. When the pulpits fell silent and the markets grew loud. When knowledge was imprisoned in books and the swords lost their shine. Decline never comes from outside. Sometimes it is born within, when we start believing more in our desires than in our prayers. The enemy's soldiers were drawing near. The call to prayer echoed from the minarets of Granada, perhaps for the last time, and the angels wept in the heavens, for those entrusted with the guardianship of faith had already sheathed their swords. We built mosques, but left our hearts empty. We preserved knowledge, but forgot faith. This is not mere decline. This is the punishment we wrote for ourselves. It was the moment when the victors lost themselves, when the pulpits fell silent and the markets grew loud, when knowledge was imprisoned in books and the swords lost their shine. Perhaps this is the question every nation must face. Has our decline ended, or has it only just begun? For when we forget our own history, history finds a way to remind us. Through the echoes of decline, through the light of sorrow, and through the tears, we never shed. This is not just a story. It is a mirror. Look into it, and ask yourself, are you too becoming the echo of decline? History bears witness. Nations do not fall by the sword of their enemies. They fall when they sever their bond with their creator. Granada did not merely lose a city that day, an entire nation buried its honor.